guys, this is Lala Legacy and welcome back to another episode of SeaBed. I am digging this music. Anyway, so let's jump right back in. Are you also traveling, Miss Fujisaka? You seem to be used to the area. I came here to buy furniture. You know, like couches, tables, and so on. Do you run a furniture store? Fujisaka shook her head without looking at me, or back at me. Nah, I run an inn back home. It's a Western mansion that's been around since before the war, so a lot of our things are old and need to be replaced. That said, we can't afford to replace everything with expensive modern furniture, so I come here once in a while looking for materials to fix some of our old stuff. Plus, cheaper replacements for the things that are too old to do anything with. Can't you buy those in Japan? You can, but it's expensive. Besides, I also like traveling. Fujisaka, who was slightly taller than me, shot a brief glance my way and continued walking forward. Where's this town of yours in Kansai exactly? It's in Hyogo. Wanna come visit? Or visit us sometime? Oh wait, no. Whoops. Wait. Who's that talking? I don't remember. I think that's Sachiko. Is it an ancient place? But you seem like the type who would like that kind of stuff. Yes, it sounds pretty interesting. Oh, wait. Whoops, it was the other way around. I had it right the first time. Fujisaka pulled out a notebook from her jeans pocket and wrote down her address and contact information. I don't have a business card. Maybe it's about time I made one. She tore out a page from her notebook and handed it to me. In that case, I might visit you during one of my business trips. We continued down a street decorated with flower reliefs, and after passing through another narrow alleyway, found ourselves in front of a huge cathedral. Here we are! The silence that followed us through the long alleyways was instantly dispelled by the clamor of the tourists. This was by far the biggest square I'd seen today, made even more overwhelming by the grand cathedral looming over it. This is Central Park, said Fujisaka. A sun clock towered in the center of the stone-paved square, with a set of tall stone pillars surrounding it in a cylindrical arrangement. I wonder if your friend is here. I glanced around in all directions one more time, but to no avail. Takako was nowhere in sight. I can't see her anywhere. Well, let's check out the inside of the cathedral. Fujisaka started toward the giant dome. From up close, the grand cathedral was so overwhelming it felt almost like it could fall over and crush you. We ascended the stairs, drawing closer to the entrance supported by 8 cylindrical and 4 rectangular columns. Oh, there she is! As I passed by them, I suddenly saw a pair of green twin tails dance in the air. They disappeared behind the humongous gates. Found her! Just as I was about to hurry after Takako, Fujisaka suddenly stopped. I guess this is goodbye then! I can't go into the cathedral dressed like this. She placed her palm on one of her sleeveless shoulders. I'd like to thank you somehow later. You're only gonna end up having to go through another adventure to find me. Rather than that, I think you should just enjoy the rest of your trip with your friend. Thank you very much. I don't know what I would have done without you. No prob. Anyway, you should probably hurry. I thanked Fujisaka and passed through the gates in pursuit of Takako. I took a quick glance and saw Fujisaka waving me goodbye. If that temple we saw earlier followed a simple is best kind of philosophy, then this one seemed closer to gorgeous is best. Various colorful and fantastical pictures decorated the walls. Everything from pillars to even the handrails had some sort of carving on them. The pillar of light descending from the ceiling illuminated both the statues of angels as well as the painting of heaven on the walls. Not letting my eyes linger on one spot for too long, I looked around for Takako, finally spotting her ascending the stairs under the huge tectorium. I followed after her, making my way up the spiral staircase. As I reached the veranda on the upper side of the tectorium, I ascended another set of small stairs leading further up. After going up another dark spiral staircase with no windows, I suddenly had to stop and narrow my eyes at the light coming from outside. The wind blew past my ears as I reached the outside of the tectorium. Opening my eyes, I was met by the vast, rust-colored cityscape stretching before me. I looked down at the central park and the various alleyways that Fujisaka and I traversed earlier. Sachi! As I looked over at that breathtaking sight, all the while struggling to hold my hair in place against the fierce wind, I heard Takako's voice from nearby. Aww! I was looking for you, Sachi! Takako, her expression colored by surprise, made her way through some people in the narrow passage and approached me. Before she could hug me, I squeezed her cheeks between my palms. And just where did you go? I kinda got disoriented after losing that carriage. And then... I spotted this blue bird and started following it. Before I knew it, I was in the square. What are you? Mytal? Did the sense of the ancient town make your brain leap into a fantasy world? I heaved a long sigh. How did you know I'd be here? Well, you do love high places. We know each other so well we don't even need words. I flicked her on the forehead. At least have the common decency to realize when I'm calling you an idiot. Before long, the orange of dusk completely overtook the blue sky. The town below us seemed to have regained its life as people slowly began to fill the formerly deserted squares and alleyways. All's well that ends well. Takako scratched her belly. The darkening orange of the setting sun gradually painted the brown walls and tiles a deep hue of red. Although the buildings seemed to be lined up haphazardly below us, creating nothing short of a maze, all their windows were perfectly designed to be on the same height. It felt as though they were forming a giant tree with numerous branches extending across the town. After looking around the Grand Cathedral and enjoying the nighttime streets for a while, we returned to the hotel. I drifted off to sleep pretty much the moment I climbed into bed, and ended up having a surprisingly vivid dream. A blonde girl in linen clothes was collecting flowers in her basket, standing in the field that would later become the market square. It all kind of reflected what Takako said back there. I continued observing her, being seemingly transparent myself. As I approached the girl to get a better look at the contents of her basket, she abruptly looked me straight in the eye, even though she wasn't supposed to see me. In that moment, the flower field disappeared, as though swept away by a hurricane, turning into a field for executions. A man adamant to preach a philosophy that contradicted the tenets of the local doctrine was seized by the Inquisition and burned at the stake for refusing to renounce his beliefs. I felt as though his panicked eyes had been glaring at me through the flames. The next day, I told Takako about my dream, as we moved south on the high-speed railway. She said her dream had aliens instead. She then started describing their countless characteristics and proceeded to never shut up about it. The light from outside made my eyelids flutter open. You awake? Yeah. I pulled Takako's jacket closer to my chest. She must have placed it on me while I slept. Takako, sitting next to me, was gazing at the clouds beyond the window. A massive mountain range stretched below them. We're almost home! Well, what time is it? As Takako was looking for the clock, the plane's speaker turned on, making an announcement in English. Takako finally pulled the clock out of her pouch. 8-ish? Have you already set it to Japanese time? Of course! I shifted my weight under the jacket and leaned against Takako's shoulder. I'll take another nap, so wake me up when we're about to land. Takako reassured me that she would. The last thing I saw before drifting off to sleep was the plane ticket in her hand. Whew! Nagasaki welcomed me back with a steaming cup of coffee. Thanks. Rising from the sofa, I took the cup from her hand. Are you feeling okay? I'm fine. The smell of coffee dispelled the final remnants of my drowsy mood. It made the memories I experienced under hypnosis feel like a distant dream. Takako didn't go missing during our trip to Italy. I recounted the events I experienced under the effect of hypnosis. Nagasaki nodded. And it seems like that trip occurred before Inukai joined your company. How do you know? I confirmed the date on the ticket with you. Oh? You can do that? I told you before the procedure, but your subconscious memories usually remain in your head a lot clearer than the ones you're conscious of. If I direct your consciousness properly during the hypnosis, I can learn details you would normally never remember under usual circumstances. Nagasaki flipped a few pages of the medical record in her hands, then pulled out a piece of paper stuck between them. So, Fumi joining, Inukai joining. Disappearance. So it happened right there, somewhere. More than 2 years ago. For starters, we learned that there is, after all, no proof of Takako working at the company after Inukai was hired. Well, I was the only one saying that anyway. Nagasaki drew a line on the paper. Now, there's nothing contradicting Inukai's statement. I suppose so. Nagasaki crossed out the part on the timeline where I said Takako had disappeared. But now we've got another problem. When did Takako really disappear, and why did I think I kept traveling with her even after Inukai joined the company? Exactly. I took another sip of the hot coffee. The coffee Nagasaki made was always incredibly bitter. When did Takako really disappear, and why did I think I kept traveling with her even after Inukai joined the company? I repeated the question within my still bitter mind. Why the sour face? Nagasaki smiled. It's the coffee. Well, let's call it a day. Nagasaki continued as I remained silent. It's my job to think, and you've already used your head quite a bit today. Leave the rest to me and go take a break. Raising my face, I saw that Nagasaki wasn't planning to give me any more questions for the time being. Alright. I gave her a reluctant reply. Don't worry. We're getting closer to the truth. It doesn't seem that way. As I fell silent, Nagasaki made a troubled face and turned to her desk. She then said she would give me some nutrients against exhaustion, just to be on the safe side. After that, she began filling out the prescription paper. As I absent-mindedly gazed at her do her work, I spotted a piece of string peeking from her pocket. It was the same string she used to hang the 5-yen coin earlier. It was my first time, but hypnosis sure is incredible, isn't it? Whoops. I messed up voices in the beginning of that. I had specific clues for the scenery and date this time around, so guiding you to those memories wasn't all that difficult. Well, what do you do when you have no clues? Nothing. It'd be equivalent to trying to look for a book whose title you don't even know in a massive library. Here you go. She handed me the prescription paper. As I asked about the medicine, she explained that those were just nutrients to compensate for the exhaustion the procedure might have caused me. Well, dang. Alright, we are getting closer to the truth. I entered the drugstore to see a family sitting on the bench, most likely waiting for their medicine to be prepared. I passed by the benches and handed the prescription slip to the clerk. Thank you. Oh, whoops, thank you! The female clerk unfolded the paper and gave it a closer look. Do you have any allergies? No. Do you have any questions about how to use the medicine? No. I will call you when your medicine is ready. Feel free to sit down while you wait. The clerk rose from her seat and disappeared beyond the glass door, further behind the counter. I sat down on one of the benches and placed my handbag next to me. The rays of the warm afternoon sun fell on my legs through the drugstore window. The line between shadow and light quivered around the area of my knees. I moved slightly toward the shadowy area. As the bell rang, a man entered the store with a prescription slip in hand, prompting the woman I just spoke with to return to the counter. I could see 2 people in white coats walking back and forth between the shelves further beyond the counter. Miss Kasahara! Kasahara Mitsuko! The female clerk called out a name in an emotionless tone. The mother of the family sitting at the bench put her newspaper down and walked over to the counter. I was about to pull a paperback from the handbag I had left at my side, but I changed my mind, stopping my hand midway. I stood up and continued to the medicine counter, examining the various labels. For medicinal bath, compresses, nutrients. I was looking through the merchandise, trailing my finger against the labels as I read them. Brown rice, mixed grain, glutinous rice. They actually had 1 kilogram packs of glutinous rice here. Glutinous rice? Miss Sachiko! Having found what I was looking for, I continued to the counter. I caught a taxi as I left the drugstore and told the driver the address of my office. It didn't even take 10 minutes to reach my destination. Can I have the receipt, please? After fiddling around with the taximeter, the driver printed out the receipt. I took it from his gloved hand, and after paying the fare, stepped out of the car. I'm back. Sorry for taking so long. I opened the office doors to see Inukai working at his desk. Hello. Inukai gave me a glance. How's the revision going? No issue so far. Well then, Fumi. I glanced at Fumi sitting next to him. Aw, she's kinda cute there. But that is actually all the time that I have for this episode, guys. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. By subscribing, you're becoming part of a legacy. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!